I'm back with Tarot Thursdays. So this is going to be your tarot scope for the new moon, which is tomorrow, July 9th. And as usual, I'm going to be moving through the signs from Aries to Taurus and Gemini and Cancer and Leo and Virgo and Scorpio and Sagittarius and Capricorn and Aquarius and then Pisces. And at the beginning, I will have a general advice card for the new moon that applies to all of us. So you can listen through if you want to hear all the insights for your loved ones as well, or you can skip through to your sign. The general advice card is quite fitting. Usually the stuff that I'm working through in my own practice and what I'm sharing, especially on my Instagram, it has to do with things that will come up in readings for my clients or for you guys. So why I'm saying this card is really fitting is the last video that I produced on Tuesday evening was about blockers to abundance. And I think that abundance is in the air for me. Again, my spirit guide message this morning had to do with how to live in alignment with abundance that you're calling in, living in that receiving mode, which also can just mean that knowing that the right things are going to find you and that you don't need to struggle and strive to get them. So briefly, the Three of Cups. Cups is a water suit, so it has to do with flow states and the feelings and the emotions and the fluidity of our moods, how they come and go. And if you think about water in that way, what keeps a river fresh is that it's always flowing. But what's so funny is that when we try to find security or stability or prosperity, we see it as something fixed. Like it's not going to move. Like I'm going to put my money in brick. I'm going to invest in property and no one can take that away. And finally I'll feel secure. And when I have, this many millions of dollars, then I will feel stable. And then I won't have to worry anymore. I think most people by now in their lives have realized that there is no magic number or fixed amount of stability that will allow you to never worry anymore, or beyond that, to just feel abundant, to feel in a state of joy and ease and surrender. So the state of joy and ease and surrender, and here you can see the abundance card, there's an overflow. There's this gushing of the water outside of the cups. There's more than enough, right? Not just enough to get by. There's that sense of plenty that is regenerative. And, when we think of, permaculture, what's regenerative about it is that multiple ecosystems thrive when a soil is fertile. So it's the same thing that when we are abundant, when we are in a state of plenty and we are taking care of ourselves in a regenerative way, then we have more to offer and more to spill over for other people. And so this card will often also imply connections with three people often. So this can be like a trifecta of best friends, that people that are dear to you, maybe two other people that you're very close to that make you feel full or more than full, or that you're brimming over. And when you can surround yourself by people that inspire that kind of unconditionality in you, then you're more likely to be in a state of receiving further prosperity that you're calling in. On the other hand, if you are spending time with people that often make you feel, I don't like the words make you feel, let's take responsibility, but you feel in lack or always insufficient or inadequate after you spend time with a certain person, that person is probably not feeding into that unconditional part of your energy where you feel infinitely resourced by inspiration or love or creativity or just the ability to be yourself. So this is not to blame the people that evoke this feeling of lack in you. This is only to say, observe, after you spend time with someone, what are the feelings that are left over? We can spend time with a person that inspires a feeling of compassion and love and acceptance for us and still feel triggered, just because you will walk away from the encounter and think, I would love to have what they have. You know, maybe they have a really beautiful relationship where they receive a lot of affection. Maybe they have, you know, I don't know, beautiful clothes and you love their sense of style or whatever it is. That's not the lack I'm talking about. It doesn't mean that wanting things that they have is necessarily a bad thing. It can be good to be expanded by the example other people set and let it inspire you to raise the bar for yourself. The kind of lack that I'm describing is where you feel like you have to change yourself in order to be accepted and loved unconditionally by another person. If someone that you're close to can love and accept you as you are today, chances are you can continue to grow with that person and they will actually help you to become the person you want to be. And I'm guessing that is an abundant person. So understand that your sense of prosperity in the world is very much connected to those that you surround yourself with that make you feel prosperous in spirit. Aries. The card for you today and for this new moon in Cancer is the Works card. Now this is ruled by your planet of Mars, but it's in Capricorn here. Now, the post I made this morning from Instagram shared to my page, you know, this post was about how you can just be in surrender and trust that everything is coming to you. Well, that post is not for you. I'll tell you why. Yes, everything that's meant to you will come to you in a greater sense, but you are being called to work for it. So, I mean, as you can understand, the Works card is so much self-explanatory. It means that you are called to be in a state of doing, of being proactive, of putting yourself out there, rolling up your sleeves, getting your hands in the mud, all of those cliches to do with work. And it's also important to note that this is a 3 card, which is an abundance number, like our abundance card for the advice card at the beginning. And this is in the disc suit, and discs is about earth and materiality and the nuts and bolts of living as a mortal being on the planet, right? We're not just light beings, we are body beings. So in order to manifest these dreams and visions that you have, you know, perhaps you've gotten something started or you have an idea for something, you actually do have to put one foot in front of the other and take the actions to make it happen. And it'll feel really good. And, you know, the sign of Capricorn here, Capricorns are great at that. It's the patriarch of the zodiac, and they are like father figures that knock things off their to-do list. My dad is a Capricorn, and nothing satisfies him more than having his to-do list on the kitchen counter, and he moves throughout his day and runs and does errands and knocks things off like nothing. And it feels really good for him to accomplish the duties that he sets out for himself. And you're being called to do something similar, so don't shy away from the next action step. And if I can give you an advice to overcome indecision paralysis or maybe procrastination, whatever it is that's keeping you kind of stuck, I recommend that you just pray on it and you ask for what the next right action is. And whatever the next thing that pops into your head to do is, just start with that and focus on only one priority at a time. And if you just knock off those little micro actions, soon enough you'll have accomplished the thing that you're setting out to do. Taurus, so you have the Princess of Cups here. Now, Cups is the element of water, and there's a real soft fluidity to this card. She is a feminine element, and you know, you have the lotus flower here, you have her giving birth to an idea in a shell. There's a little tortoise coming out of its shell, as well as the shell that she is kind of bracing him in. And there's a fish, there's a bird, it's a swan actually. There's a lot happening here to imply fertile ground. This is really the birth of an idea, and you are being called on to rely on your creativity. So whatever, you know, that works for you to loosen up those ideas. I picture the metaphor of earth and how you have to kind of like till the soil. You have to kind of shake these creative ideas loose from your unconscious. So maybe it's doing some dream work. I have a free mini course when you sign up for it on my website that can teach you how to do some dream analysis. Maybe it's morning pages or just automatic journaling. Maybe it's one of those adult coloring books, or an interior design project, or improvising on a recipe while you're cooking. Whatever it is, find that way to, paint something around your house. Find that way to unlock a part of you that has the desire to bring something into existence from nothing. And it's important that this is not just practical. There's a very poetic element here. It's fanciful. It's fantasy, music and dancing and the arts. This is not simply accomplishment oriented productivity. And it's important that you rely on that part of you that kind of still believes in fairies, or had a very vivid imagination when you would be in nature. Access that part of you that delights in the imagination in and of itself. And you might be pleasantly surprised that it does lead to an efficient outcome, but that's just not the goal. Gemini, we have the Valor card for you. So I always think of this as the no compromises card. This is not a time to be your naturally elastic self that just kind of chameleonizes itself depending on which social situation you find yourself in. You gotta find your backbone and kind of stick to your values and your guns no matter what situation you're in. So be a little bit less of a shapeshifter. Mars is in Leo, and Leo is not afraid to stand out, and Mars is a very courageous warrior. So even if what you feel is right is not in alignment with the group consensus, it doesn't mean that you should bend and always be flexible. Compromise can be a good word, but it's not always the case. Sometimes compromise means self-abandonment or neglecting your value system, which can leave you feeling kind of grimy after. So I just recommend that you focus throughout this new moon on what is actually most important to you, what your first instinct was. Like, what did you wake up feeling? What did you decide you were going to do with that day? What was your original approach to a social situation? Maybe there's a conflict in your friend group and you thought it was best to handle it in this way. And then you talked to somebody else and they kind of convinced you to approach it otherwise, or they tried to turn you against that person. Stick to your original viewpoint and defend it until the end. Let it play itself out, because maybe once you're on the other side of the situation and things have kind of unfolded on their own and the situation has evolved, you will realize that you had a really good grasp on things originally. The same kind of goes for like a fad diet, for example. If people around you are all going keto, or they want to do some rugged exercise that day, and you just feel like that feels harsh for your body, that you need to take a softer, more gentle approach with yourself, don't do the Gemini thing of what's trendy at that moment. Stick to the inner wisdom of your sensual body and how it is directing you towards something that is authentic, that has integrity, and that is very much yours and yours alone, maybe. Cancer, this is your birthday season and the new moon is in your sign, so this is definitely a focal point on you today. And we have a really beautiful card for you. We have the Satiety card, finding satiation, being satiated. When you're satiated, you haven't had too much and you haven't had too little. This is not when we overstuff ourselves and have to undo our pants in order to get comfortable. It means you have just enough to feel good and to feel right. And chances are, as a Cancer and someone that really appreciates your inner circle and your home environment and the intimate details of your day-to-day life, chances are you're able to appreciate it. Only when we have the capacity for gratitude are we also able to take stock that we have enough, that it's just enough. There's always this kind of danger with when we're satiated and comfortable to get stagnant and to sort of stay stuck in our proverbial sweatpants. So I'm glad that you're comfortable. I'm glad that things kind of have come together for you and the puzzle pieces are fitting together. And trust me, I'm happy for you that you have this moment of rest and peace. But I also want you to not hold on to that too tight. It doesn't mean that just because you've found harmony that you need to cling to it for dear life. Allow the fresh air in. Things can continue to evolve and to flow and to be in flux. And it doesn't mean that, things are going to get destabilized or the ship is going to flip or whatever it is. Welcome in adventure and curiosity and a sense of newness, and don't stick too much to your plans so that you kind of become, rigid, or think that I need to keep things exactly the way they are now so that I can hold on to this really good feeling. This good feeling came as a wave through chance and through your destiny, and it came to you at the right time, just as the next right thing will come to you at the right time. Not because you are controlling it and trying to keep everything in place or keeping it just so. So don't make your environment this hermetically sealed bubble to maintain how everything is going well for you. Understand that when things feel like they're enough, there's just more good things on the way, and what is new and exciting to you will continue to change, and that's more than okay. It's really healthy and it's really exciting and fun. Leo. So we have the Queen of Wands, a fiery figure after your own heart. Look, she's not playing small at all. And there's that Leo red kind of lion's mane everywhere. And the tail of this card is very much connected to that fiery orange color that we associate with the lion's mane. This figure used to have dark black hair, and that was a symbol of her period of hardship. And likewise, this was a panther that was dark in color and in fur. And she found the light, as the cliche goes. She came into her own kind of personal enlightenment, and her hair went blonde, as did the felines. But she wanted to keep some of that redness, that auburn, just as the wildcat kept its black spots, as a way of commemorating her hardship. So, in other words, we are not strong because we do not suffer. It's because we continue to embrace life despite the difficulties and the challenges that we've experienced. As Nietzsche would say, we stay life affirming. And the opposite to be life denying would be to be resentful or passive or nihilistic or cynical. Many people think that Nietzsche was a nihilist, and on the contrary, that was what he criticized. When we are life denying, we want to compartmentalize the things that are difficult in life, and we'd prefer not to look at them, and we think of them as negative. Like, we think of them as challenges to our existence, as if they're indications that we're not meant to succeed or flourish or thrive. And if you really truly believe that everything that happens to you is a blessing and it's meant to be your teacher, then every what might seem like intrusion on your path is actually guiding you to empowerment and becoming and further levels of enlightenment. So look at these so-called challenges in your life. Are they actually opportunities for growth that you're just not really willing to embrace them yet? Perhaps there's a lesson in there that you just not ready to swallow it. I encourage you to take the leap and receive the blessing and the lesson that's wrapped up in any of the challenges that you're currently experiencing, because on the other side of them is a greater capacity for joy and excitement, and life will feel more fulfilling when you're not shying away from those challenges anymore. Virgo, you have the Power card as your new moon tarot scope card. So this is the sun in Capricorn, and I think of sun in Capricorn is similar to sun in Virgo in the sense that they're both very high functioning signs. There's a kind of masculine, proactive energy to them. They are definitely the doers of the zodiac. And so I think that you probably feel comfortable with this fortress. I mean, look, it's square, it looks organized. There's a moat, the protecting the walls. You have to walk through this one designated area. There's order, there's structure here. And, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, and there's a sense of strong foundations. And I'm sure that makes you feel secure, Virgo. So this is a time where you kind of tap into your own inner CEO and embolden yourself to make decisions. Do not allow yourself to be too wishy-washy. If you're presented with choices, put on your kind of big boy pants and feel authoritative, even if you have to fake it till you make it a little bit to get out of the indecision paralysis. There's always a hidden warning with this card, though, as well, that when we try to put up walls to be sure of ourselves and squash any potential detractors, we put up these high walls for the fortress so we can feel protected and secure, and no one can make us doubt ourselves again. And I'm just suggesting that sometimes we inhibit ourselves from experiencing some softness that we actually crave, and some intimacy and connection, and it can feel really good to dissolve those walls of self-protection as well. So while you're feeling authoritative and it's time to make decisions and be a boss and probably thrive at work and maybe in your financial decisions and all of that, it doesn't mean that you have to compromise on the tenderness and the softness and the vulnerability. You can still allow other people to reach you there. Just, make your choices, feel confident in them, stick to the structure that makes you feel safe and grounded, but also be willing to listen and hear other perspectives and allow them to touch you and affect you. Libra. When I pulled this card for myself in a reading I did yesterday, I was really happy to see it, and I immediately understood what it meant, because I had experienced this kind of inner alchemy where I was really dropping into my body and my sensual experience of things, and it was very pleasurable, as the namesake of this card goes. So this is the sun in Scorpio, and as you probably know, as the cliche goes, Scorpio is not afraid of sexual energy and allowing themselves to be taken under, because it's also the sign of the underworld. They are taken under the seductive spell of their bodily experience. And so, this is even as subtle as the caress of the sheets against your skin, something crunchy and liquidy in your mouth, someone rubbing their hand against your back. It doesn't have to be a sexual encounter for you to embellish every sensual moment of your experience. In fact, I think that there's a certain kind of spiritual awareness that comes from just being in our bodies. It doesn't have to be reduced to ideas of lust. There's actually another card that's called lust, and it's different than this one. 6 of Cups. Cups is the water suit, and 3, 6s, and 9s, multiples of 3, they are all abundance numbers. So there's that sense of plenty and richness and fullness of one's experience that is there with this card. And if that just means lying on a yoga mat for an hour like I did last night, just rolling a ball in my shoulder just to feel the tension melt away in an area where it tends to be held, or just taking a meandering walk and hearing the sounds of the leaves. Yesterday when I did this reading for myself, I just felt like embellishing and indulging in the pleasure of being, and it felt almost wasteful and sinful, the same way the Judeo-Christian religions looked at pleasure, right? Physically, it felt almost sinful to be in that place of rest and embodying that. But then the next day I woke up extremely energized and ready to be productive, which the Protestant work ethic would approve of. So just trust that bodily flow to lead you to the next place that you're meant to be. Scorpio, for some reason I had a feeling a card like this was coming for you. It's a little bit of a challenge, but not more of a challenge than you're already experiencing. It's actually the guides trying to pull you out of this challenge. So we have the strife card. Now, astrologically, this is ruled by Saturn in Leo. And those are like opposing forces. In the same way that you can see here, there's that fire of Leo that wants to express itself and be big and bold and beautiful. And then there's these wands that are blocking that energy. We have parallel wands and we have the perpendicular. And it's just like this clash of like nothing is allowed to flow forward and gush forth. So what is happening there? Well, Saturn is like the stern disciplinarian father that wants things to be mature and done in the traditional way, like the institutions prescribe it. And Leo wants to be the bold and the beautiful, flirtatious, seductive, playful, childlike. So your natural freedom of expression, whether that's artistic or just in your sense of style or in your lifestyle or globe-trotting and trying different cuisines and wearing fancy sunglasses, whatever that spontaneous self-expression is to you, is being restricted by the party that feels like you need to be a grown-up. And what are they gonna think? And you should just fit in. And you know what? You should just do what your parents expect you to do. And, who are you to swim cross current? Wouldn't it be nice if you just fit in and did what society expected? Well, no, it wouldn't be that nice because it is suffocating your creative voice. So in this new moon, take a little bit of chances at being the more colorful side of yourself that you have access to. And you might want to use an artistic practice that involves color, just so that you can start to express yourself with color and texture without an agenda. Because when you put an agenda, like maybe I could sell this, maybe I could make money, maybe I could get recognition, if you're putting a utilitarian spin on it, then you're already unconsciously sticking to an institutional agenda of what society will deem an acceptable use of your time and energy. No, find the joy in your pure self-expression, the authenticity of your wild nature, and let that be enough. Sagittarius, I saw this card at the bottom of the deck because I split the deck and mix it up every time between card pulls. So I saw this wealth card at the bottom of the deck and I said, I have a feeling that's going to be the card, but because I just saw it as I was splitting the deck, I'm gonna split the deck an extra time so that I put it in the middle, so it wouldn't be right at the bottom where I first saw it. I ended up pulling it anyway. So this card is absolutely destined for you. And as I was splitting the deck, I heard this internal message. This is going to be glad tidings for the Sagittarius, and it is. The wealth card is a beautiful card to pull. So this is the 10 of discs. It's the end of a cycle for you with money and abundance and prosperity. The thing is, if you're coming into some kind of lucrative moment, don't hold on to it out of fear, because all these coins that have been amassed, the ones that are being hoarded and fear kind of mongering state, they lose their golden luster. They turned purple and matte colored. And that is because this is like the image of saving the china, and it grows dusty and it grows tarnished, and it's no longer pleasurable to use because you saved it so long that it's kind of lost its luster. So if you come into a little bit of luck or inheritance or money or a promotion, take a second to celebrate that and realize that the abundance mindset is what allows more of it to flow into your life. So it doesn't mean that you have to splurge. Sometimes just taking better stock of what we already have is a way of feeling abundant, like clearing out the clutter in our homes and maybe like sewing a hole in our pair of pants that we really like that we're not wearing because it has a hole in it, and then suddenly we fix it and they feel like new again. You upcycle something. Whatever it is, it's also appreciating what you have more, and putting on your nice clothes when you go out, like instead of wearing your shittier ones, or not waiting for a special occasion to call up a friend that means a lot to you. Go somewhere nice, go have coffee with them on a terrace somewhere. Take the time to do the things that feel like you would almost wait until you were on vacation. It doesn't have to be a special event for you to experience the best your life has to offer. So use that china now. Capricorn, there's just no need to feel defeated. Why y'all feeling defeated? Okay, so we have the Five of Swords here, and it doesn't surprise me that this is a sword suit for you because you tend to be in your head a lot, and the sword suit is the element of air. It's our thinking and rational functions and our analysis, and there's this kind of pressure of these swords that they're exerting against themselves, and that is what our mind tends to do, right? A lot of the inner pressure we feel is one that we're self-imposing. So maybe you think you could have handled something a little bit better, and you're feeling this sense of hopelessness, like, why did I have to learn this lesson again? I knew better than this. That is just a story that you are weaving. This is represented by Venus in Aquarius, okay? And Venus wants to love and be in harmony and be in pleasure and stop and smell the flowers. And Aquarius wants to look forward to the future and be progressive and intellectually advanced and an innovator. And there is a conflict here between these two energies because Venus wants to enjoy what's here and now, and the Aquarius always wants to be avant-garde and looking ahead. So this is exerting a kind of internal pressure on you. And the only way to alleviate that is to practice self-love for where you are at this very moment. The future will unfold to meet you where you are, and harmony will be a byproduct of that self-love, but you have to start with applying it right where you are, with whatever your perceived mistakes are yesterday, or whatever you thought you should be doing today because your mind directed you to do it that way. Let that all go and use your feelings and desires as an indication of your current starting point. Start with what you're feeling, start with what you're wanting, with what you're needing. Love whatever that emotional reaction is right now, and feed it. Nourish it, nurture it. Don't try and change it or fix it or talk it into another solution or way of being. Just radically surrender, and whatever it is that you need will find you, and that sense of defeat will just be lifted away, and that pressure will be out of that pressure cooker, and you will find the kind of ease that you're craving underneath all of that self-talk. Aquarius, I love it when you call me Big Pop. But Emperor, Big Daddy. So this is a time to tap into your inner patriarch. And I had a chat with my a new friend that's shout out to Drew, that's a North Node in Capricorn, or else North Node in the 10th house, either North Node in Capricorn or North Node in the 10th house, which is ruled by Capricorn. Either way, when I pull a card for a sign, I will often think of someone I know that is in that sign. And this person is an Aquarius. And I was just telling him what it meant to have a North Node related to the energies of Capricorn. And it has to do with finding that strong inner father in you. Maybe you had a father that wasn't that present, or maybe they were very present, and so much so that their almost imposing presence was like a dominant figure in your life, and one that didn't allow you to develop your own masculine energy. So it's time for you to rule your kingdom and to find that kind of balls out, excuse the term, confidence. That horrible image of when men do that vulgar thing where they pretend they're putting their balls on the table. It's a terrible image, but it's kind of if we can look at it metaphorically with a little bit of a sense of humor, it's not shying away from your own virility. And the same thing applies to women. You know, this is our alpha energy, and a dog is very much attuned to this. So, you know, my dog has 3 people that she responds to in this way of these strong alpha figures, and 2 of them are women, and they are just able to walk into the space and have a commanding energy, and it actually really relaxes her. And sometimes we're afraid of stepping into our own authority because we think that we're gonna intimidate people or scare them away or be alienated because of it. And a lot of us actually desire genuine leadership when it's done with confidence and integrity. So don't be afraid to put your balls on the table, so to speak. I love the consistency of tarot readings because for Pisces, we have the advice card coming back, and myself being a Pisces, I did a tarot reading for myself yesterday. I hadn't done one in a really long time, and the present position card that I had, as I mentioned at the beginning, was the pleasure card. And what do we have again? There is consistency in this, people. We think of it this is random and from out of nowhere, but au contraire, if you do this enough, you start to see the patterns come up with almost a rigid continuity. So, pleasure. I mean, what more can you say about that? We're so afraid to enjoy our lives because we think we're going to be missing something that we should be doing. We would much rather just live in a constant state of what we should be doing. We're really afraid to let go and go with the flow. And yet, the best ideas and inventions and business ideas and falling in love and getting married, or babies are born, all of these things happen from moments of pleasure. Usually that's when inspiration strikes and ideas come to us. So you can't always expect the workhouse part of you to get the results. Inspiration will take you farther, and so will feeling good in your body. And sometimes it helps for even things that you want to accomplish. Like, I've always been very lazy about putting moisturizer on my body. It feels like a waste of time. When I was younger, I felt like showering was a waste of time. Like, I just don't have a lot of patience for self-pampering. But when I approach it from a level of pleasure, where it's like, oh, it feels so good to be showered, and I like the feeling of the wet hair in summer, and I enjoy the feeling of my skin being soft after I put the cream on my legs, then there's no discipline anymore that's required. Then there's an ease that invites me to do the task. So for this new moon, Pisces, find whatever it is that you can do to infuse your actions and your decisions with pleasure. If you find that you're really resisting doing something, is this something that you absolutely need to do? Can you possibly separate your have to do's and need to do's from which your I would like to do's? And for now, just wipe away the things that you would like to do, only do the things you absolutely have to do, and the rest follow joy and pleasure. And it might seem scary, you might think you're gonna lose control, but find out, because you just might be able to reclaim some of the things you're trying to do. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm going to be doing tarot card pulls every Thursday for every sign for different events or whatever is happening in the zodiac or in real world events. Please subscribe to this channel. It's a great way of showing support so I can continue to make this content for you, and leave comments below about what stuck out to you and if these things kind of came true for you throughout the week. It's been great hearing from you all so far, so keep it up and thank you.